Okay, so now we successfully have a mess, so let's clean it up. We're going to use a combination of the ripple and the rolling edit tool to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is right here we've got some extra information. So watch what I have right now. So we start from here, bag is falling, catch, turn, and so not quite a match here. So we've got to figure out how to put these things together. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to line these two up to where they match right on the action point. So again, this is match on action, and typically you'll have a filmmaking, you see a cut on action. So instead of having, we'll get to that in just a second, but first things first, let's just line up these two clips where they match just on the contact point for that bag, and let's try to use our new tool so we can do it as cleanly as possible. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to go to the ripple edit and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to click here on the tail ends, and I'm going to look for that moment right when the bag makes contact. I think it's there. Let me double check it. Let's go back, and I like a good frame by frame, and I'm going to do the down arrow key that's going to take me to that cut point, and I'm going to use the left arrow key that's going to back up one frame at a time. So I'm going to just make sure I'm backing up one frame at a time, and now the right arrow key, one step at a time, one frame at a time. I think that's it. That's the contact point right there. Boom. Right when the bag falls into his hand. So I did good. That's exactly the point that we want right there. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to get this clip lined up right on that contact point. So this time, instead of doing the tails, I'm again stepping back and forth. So this is the left and the right arrow key, right to the contact point. Bang, I think that's it. Let me zoom in a little bit. So instead of fit, let me go to 150% view. And just look at this here. And actually, let me make it even a little bigger, 200%. And just so I can make sure. And left. Okay, right arrow key, down, 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 down. Bang, I think that's it right there. And so I'm going to use our new keyboard shortcut. So remember, we want the cut to be to the left of the playhead here. So I'm using the ripple edit trim. So again, that would be Q is the one to the left. And so let's check this. I think that's it. I think we got it. Boom. There we go. So let me zoom back out to fit so I can see everything. And let's take a look at the rolling edit tool. So let's just imagine, my cut looks pretty good right now, but let's just imagine that I had the point there. Actually, let's go even further. Let's go here. That doesn't, we kind of want, let's go again. Let's try it one more time. I'll find it in a second. Okay, here we go. So let's imagine that this was the point, right? Like, it's just that we see that bit of falling, like that's where we lined up the clips. Really where we want is right on that contact point. So let's explain what I did here. So the rolling edit tool takes both of these that are kind of at that same point in time, and we can move where we want that cut to be. Do we want the fall to be in mid-fall, or do we want it right to the contact point? And what I can do here is when I hover between these two clips, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm moving the point of exactly where do I want them to come together. And so here, I actually want it to be where we had it before, which is right on that moment of contact. So looks like that's right here. And so I'm going to move that point there where my playhead was. Boom. So that's how those two tools work together, that you kind of start with the ripple trim to line things up, and then you can play around and find exactly where you want them to meet one another. Then you'll go in with the rolling edit tool. And again, this is called MatchOnAction. This is something you're going to do all the time when it comes to the world of narrative editing, because these two shots, these two shots were filmed at different times. Camera is down here on the ground in this one, and this could have been an entirely different day of production because the camera is on top of that building looking down. But this is the magic of movie making. When we cut these pieces together, the story is continuous. So we're having to take disparate pieces and put them together to create that illusion of continuity. So this is important. And again, that's a standard thing, matching on action, right where the impact is, like right when somebody comes to the door, where the bang or the explosion, that's where you have your cut to your next shot. Because the way it is right here, that gets kind of boring, right? We stay on that same shot and then he's turning away and it's running. That's not as compelling as something like this where you have the different shot of them running away. So just remember those two. And those are going to be the two tools that are going to help you refine those cuts. It's going to be the ripple and the rolling. And I'm sure you can see what a time-saving feature, particularly the ripple edit tool is. It's something you're going to use a lot. So there's nothing wrong with doing it the other way, but it's good to, in terms of creating gaps and then right-clicking and ripple delete on the timeline, but just saves you some time to just go ahead and use the ripple edit tool. The last thing that I want to talk about is we come over here to the chase sequence, and I'm going to expand this so we see the whole thing. The other thing that I have here that I don't have on the others is I went ahead and laid down some music. So I'm going to play just a second of this.
Let me see what I can find.
So I've got some peeking that I got to go in. So don't forget about this. I got some peeking I got to go in here and doctor. But in this, we have this wonderful music. It's so perfect for this sequence. And I really got lucky because this is something I was doing some searches for. So let's come over here. Now remember about our music. We do not want to use any music by the Beatles, by The Who, by anybody like that you hear on the radio, because you do not have the rights to use that music. If you ever work on a project, maybe one day you're working on something where they have a big budget. It's expensive to license that kind of music, and you have to follow proper protocols. And you see this all the time on places like YouTube, where people use music they do not have the copyright to, and they get contacted by YouTube and say, you got to take all this down. So I don't want that to happen, you guys. I want you to follow correct copyright standards. And so what we do is we work with a place like this, Free Music Archive. And so you come through here and you can choose your genres of what type of music you want to work with. And I just typed in the word ChaseScene and I got really lucky. So here I'm going to type in ChaseScene, hit return. Oh, look at this. There's my music. And it's actually quite perfect for this scene. So then I went in and found the points of where do I want the music to start. Downloaded it. And again, I have to make sure that I'm following the right copyright for this stuff. And when I download it, I got to make sure at the end of the credits that I properly credit these people in this song, because here I know based on this of like their license under attribution. So that means they're okay with me using this music as long as I give them copyright, that I let people know, right? That I let people know that it's their music. So as long as they're credited and I don't change the music, then they're happy with that. So win-win for me and for them. So just it's mandatory to make sure you credit this properly. And again, I have the resource sheet for you that I'm going to have in the resources folder, and I'll have links through this week's material. But just make sure you're also you're always crediting these things properly, and just review back through that sheet about the proper way to credit. And so that's just something else I wanted to mention in terms of making sure that you're doing things correctly, and in terms of where you're getting your music. And just as a quick little refresher, so here what I did on the timeline, as you notice,
Let me see what I can find.
the music comes in quieter and it starts to build. And so the way that I did that is I expanded the audio track, because see, if it's like that, you don't have these little keyframes, these audio keyframes. And so I'm going to expand the track. And what I did is I went in with a pen tool and I went in and put points, and I was able to have the music step up in loudness. And so that would step up the overall loudness of everything. And if I needed it to be a little louder, I could pull down these points. And so actually where I'm getting that peaking, let's check and see if that got rid of the peaking.
Let me see what I can find.
Nope, still getting it. I think that's actually coming from another audio track here. I think that might be either from, let's see if this is what's bringing it up too high.
See what I can find.
Hang on. I think maybe it's this. There are two audio tracks here of dialogue.
Let me see what I can find.
Yeah, let me go back to the selection tool, and these little lines here, remember this is our overall volume. So I'm going to pull those down just a smidge and see if that's going to get rid of it. I'm just pulling those down. All that is adjusting the volume right there. Let's see if I can get rid of it.
Let me trying to see what I can find.
Perfect. So I just went in and adjusted those lines right there, and it got rid of that peaking. So just as a quick refresher, I know we've, those of you that have studied with me before, that we've covered this, but just in case there's somebody here that hasn't studied with me for video editing part 1. So just a quick little refresher about that. So just a little reminder. And then if I come back down here to my sound that I've added in for the music, if I needed to do any further adjustments, I can do that here.
Trying to see what I can find.
I want everything to hang out around, I definitely don't want anything, those little red warnings. That's definitely, you've got peaking and volumes needs to be adjusted. I would probably go in and keyframe this some more and find some moments where we're having dialogue, and I would want the music to be a little softer. See, I've got some peaking right there. So that's some, I've got some more work to go in and do here, but that's the basics. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you get the idea about how to use how to expand the audio tracks, how to go in with the pen tool and keyframe the audio up and down, and just, well, actually, just real quick as a reminder, just in case, let's find it. Where's that? There. So I think that's because of the audio track where he fell. I think that's from this stuff here up at the top. So let's go in, and I'm in the keyboard shortcut V for my selection tool. Let's pull the volume on that guy down just a smidge. Let's see if that got rid of it. Nope. So maybe it is my music. Okay, let's go back down. and expand that track. And let's go into the P for the keyboard shortcut for the pen tool. Let's go in and do some keyframes here. Let me zoom in, toggle bar to zoom into this area. Do another couple keyframes and see if that won't get rid of it. Oh, where is it? There we go. There are my points. I'm too far ahead. Let's back down here, slide those over. I can see where it is. It's that little peak right there where it's coming from. Let's see. Let's pull that down. Let's see if that gets it. Still not enough. Okay. I'll keep going. All right, a little bit more. Oh, what fun. If I'm being... There we go, we got it. Now, wonderful. Okay, I'll hit the save button. So anyway, just don't forget to do that, to go back through your audio and just double check and make sure you don't have any peaking anywhere. You got to go in and make some adjustments. And I think I'm going to stop with there in terms of this part of narrative video editing. We're going to see another one in just a moment that we're going to talk about shot, reverse shot, about how to handle scenes where there is dialogue. It's very, very common in narrative editing. So we'll take a look at that one next. So we'll switch gears in terms of how to handle some dialogue.